to the Houndstrings Podcast, Episode 1. My name is Alex, and I'm your host. This is a podcast about knitting, crochet, all kinds of crafty fun. It's about music, my adventures in learning to play 3 instruments from scratch, and just music in general, what I'm listening to, and it's about everyday fun, my love of animals, and you'll see my dog in a while. Hence the hound, part of Houndstrings. And before I get started, I'd like to say thank you for joining me today. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast, so I'm a little nervous, but we'll see how this goes. And I want to give a big thank you to my very dear friend Jessica of the Army Wife Knitting Life podcast. If you're not following her already, definitely check her out. She's awesome, and I think I've watched each episode at least a half dozen times, not gonna lie. And she's the one that, from watching her podcast, inspired me to even think about doing one of my own. And more importantly, she's the one that gave me the push that I needed to follow through with this idea. So Jessie, thank you so much. I love you. You're the best. And again, for those watching, there we go. If you haven't started watching her already, definitely follow her. She's awesome. She does collaborations with other podcasters. And again, what else can I say? She's amazing. But let's get started on this journey. This is likely going to be a longer episode. I tried a couple of times recording this, and each time ended up being about an hour. But future episodes won't be that long. It's just that this time, I've got so much that I want to share. So I'm going to start today with the crafty side of things. Again, my primary crafts are knitting, crochet, anything to do with yarn. I do have a few other interests as well that we'll get into in the general life portion. But today, I'd like to show off some of my favorite finished objects. I have 2 in particular that I'll show off. You'll see others down the road. Just won't have time to show everything today. But first is this beauty. This is the Wave of Flowers shawl. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. The designer is Baba Stripped. And I knit this one in, I knit this one in Zen Yarn Garden in their Serenity Silk Plus, and the colorway is called Mystical. And it's coming out really nicely on the screen, at least it is for me. What can I say? That was a fun pattern to make. It's a great beginner piece. I've been knitting, seriously knitting for several years now. I started to learn in the 7th grade, but it really wasn't until about college that I really got into it, really became serious about knitting. But this was my on-the-go pattern. It was a lot of fun, and I'm going to show you, since it's a free pattern, I don't feel too bad about giving too much away, but I'll kind of show you how it progresses. So for any beginners out there, if you want to try and knock this out, it's really doable. It's a lot of fun. So it starts off here in the corner with just a simple little flower, and then there are increases, particularly making stitches, decreases, yarn overs, but they're just really basic. And so it starts off with the little flower stitch, and then it gets bigger with some garter stitch, and it continues with the flower border. Again, very simple. It has the beautiful garter stitch, so that way the most complicated thing is going to be at the beginning of the right side row, and then if you can get that, you're good. It does have some bind off or shaping, beautiful kind of sawtooth edge, I'd call it. And then again, for the main body, the rest is lovely, soft, squishy garter until you get to a stripe of flowers every few repeats. And then at the very end, you have a beautiful wave of flowers, as in the title. And again, it's a great pattern for any skill level. Generally, I have two patterns that I'm working on at once. One is a pattern that stays at home with me. The other I take to work. This is the one that I took to work. I work on it during my breaks, and before I clocked in for my shift at the beginning of each day. And I was probably able to knock it out in about a month, which for me is a little on the slow side, but not by much. Or, now that I think of it, I think on my Ravelry page it has about 2 months. So again, a little slower for me, and probably really slow for someone that's working on the same project or has a lot of time that they can dedicate to knitting. But again, it was a lot of fun, and again, the colorway is, here we go. The colorway is called Mystical. It's by Zen Yarn Garden in their Serenity Silk Plus. And with that yarn, most of the time up until that point, about a year ago or so, I wasn't terribly keen on buying variegated yarns as much as I would just drool over them in the yarn stores. I would never really get up the nerve to buy a skein for myself, just because I was kind of afraid of how the colors would pool, and things like that. But this was one where I saw it in the skein. I was like, yes, I have to have it. And it was at that point where I was like, I don't even care if I ever make anything out of that. It's just plain gorgeous. But then I found this pattern and did a little thinking, and I was like, I'm going to go for it. And I love the results. They're just so pretty. So again, Wave of Flowers by Baba Strict, and you can find that one on Ravelry. The next finished object I'm going to show you guys is actually not with me. That's because it was a gift from my grandmother, but it was my first successful pair of socks, shown now. And I absolutely love them. They turned out beautifully, and I say they're my first successful pair of socks because I did a couple of other attempts to sort of experiment with different decorative patterned stitches. I was mostly drawn to cable, but unfortunately, as beautiful as the results were, they just really didn't stretch as much as I needed to. So they had to be scrapped a couple of times, but I was so happy with the end result, and she absolutely loves them. And she wears them almost every time I go to visit her. And the yarn, oh my gosh. That beautiful, beautiful color is by Cascade in their Pacific line. And unfortunately it doesn't have a name, although I think it deserves a very beautiful descriptive name. But the number is 66. And first off, it's a gorgeous shade of teal, but not only that, it also has the heathering effect, which I absolutely love. And it's heathered in yellow of all colors. So it was just so unusual and so pretty. It caught my eye right as I was about to kind of give up the search for the time being, because I was looking mostly at worsted weight yarns because I wanted it to feel more like a slipper than a regular sock. But yeah, the color just caught my eye, and it's superwash wool with nylon. I don't remember the exact percentages, but they're easy to care for, and again, they turned out great. And excuse me one moment. I'm going to... There we go. We just had to take care of the blinds. It's a beautiful day outside, but the sun was kind of beating down on me. Not comfortable. But, so where was I? Oh yeah. So anyway, that was Cascade Pacific colorway 66. Again, unfortunately, it doesn't have a name. It really deserves a really pretty name. But again, that was a lot of fun to make, and fortunately, I have a little bit of yarn left over. It'll go in my remnants for now. I'll probably make like a scrappy shawl with it, something like that. Something to show off those colors. But that's all the finished objects for now. I do have a lot more that I would love to share on this episode, but that would just take up way too much time. You'll see them in future episodes as well as on my blog. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. The blog is by the same name of Houndstrings, and the link is in the description below. But you'll see the finished objects. That's where you'll see stash enhancement, featured favorites, things like that. Things that I won't really have that much time to go over at least in this episode. But let's continue. Let's segue into what I'm working on now. So first, I'd like to show off my on-the-go project. And again, this is one that unless I'm podcasting, I normally leave in the car. That way I have it for my shifts. So I can work on it before I clock in for the day, on my breaks. But in this lovely project bag, this is by Casey's Pockets to Go, by the way. This is kind of my second of 3 in the start of my collection. I will definitely be getting more because I absolutely love them. So cute! I love the patterned sheep. Again, how adorable is that? But in here is the start of the Luella top. That one is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. It's by Susie Sparkles. And this is the first pattern that I've ever made of hers. And let's just say the way it's going now, I will definitely be making more of her patterns. So I'll kind of hold it up to the light so you can see the lace. And I'm not going to give too much detail away. I will say that it is knit in the round, so there is no seaming. It's yoked down. And it has lace and bottles. Now you get to see those beautiful colors. And this time they are showing up a little bit brighter, a little bit more saturated, but honestly not by much. And this is Ba La Jolla actually the colorway is exclusive to a yarn store in Pike Place Market in Seattle. I believe the shop is called So Much Yarn. But here is the yarn and the cake. It got a little messy, but in the end it's all going to be knit into a sweater anyway, so as long as it doesn't get tangled. But here is skein 1, and of course I've got, or I guess this is skein 2, I've got skein 1 on the needles right now. Good save. But it was a birthday gift from, no, not a birthday gift, a Christmas gift from my Aunt Claire. She's one of my dad's sisters, and she actually lives in Seattle, and I love her to pieces. I love all my family, granted, but I have a connection with her, or a particular soft spot for her, because, you know, while she doesn't knit or crochet, she does other crafts. She also bakes, which I love to bake too. You'll probably see that on future episodes. But she has friends that knit and crochet as well, so she can kind of appreciate the love of good yarn and making things. So she kind of spoils me when it comes down to it. But that was from, again, it was an exclusive colorway. And I'm just going to mess with the lighting real quick. I apologize for that. With the clouds rolling by, it's kind of cloudy but kind of sunny, so, and the computer just wants to automatically correct the lighting to what it thinks it should be, not to what I want it to be. So there you go. But anyway, the yarn shop that she got it from was, or is, on Pike's Place Market. I believe it's called So Much Yarn. But you know, the last time I went to visit her, that was the first time I had been to that shop, and I absolutely love it. And again, she spoils me rotten. I absolutely love her. And this is, again, Market Flowers by Bala Hoya. And again, normally that would be a color that I would go absolutely bonkers for in the store, but I wouldn't know what to do with it, so ordinarily I would have shied away. But ever since making the Wave of Flowers shawl, that one kind of helped me get more comfortable with variegated yarns, and now you'll see in a little bit that they've become a little bit of an obsession. So, can't wait to see how it goes. And I'll show you one last time, because I just love how it's coming out. This is the start of the lace yoke for the Luella top by Susie Sparkles, and again, it's a paid for pattern, but it's well worth the pattern price. And like I said before, if it continues to go as well as it's going now, I will definitely be buying and making more of her patterns. I'll take a quick sip. Getting a little dry. And if you're interested, Airhead Bubbly. I love sparkling water. It's definitely an acquired taste. Not everybody likes it, but over time I've become addicted. Which really, all things considered, not a bad thing to be addicted to. The next project that I'd like to share, and really the only other work in progress, is a pair of toe-up socks. Show you bag that I'm keeping this in. This is, again, by Casey's Pockets to Go. It was actually my very first project bag. This is the alpaca bag, although they're technically llamas, but who cares? It's a pun. I love puns. I love dad jokes. Now, there's not as much progress as I would have liked. I did end up having to start over. Looks like I'll need to start over again. No, maybe not. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But right now there's nothing on the needles except for the, excuse me. That's the only downside of bubbly water or carbonated drinks. A little bit of gas on occasion. But anyway, I just have the provisional cast on for the toe right now. But I'm working on this beautiful yarn again. Now that I've started with the variegated colors, kind of hard not to go for it. This is by the Grinning Cat, and she's a San Diego dyer, which that's where I'm from. That's where I'm broadcasting from. And I've lived within the county all my life. I've moved to different places in the county, but I absolutely love it. I love San Diego. So I have a thing for indie dyers anyway, but I have a particular soft spot for anyone from San Diego or places, even if it's not in San Diego, places that I've been. So again, this is the Grinning Cat. I was also very drawn to the name because of the Alice in Wonderland reference. I love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I read it all the way through about 3 years ago, and I definitely want to reread it. It's just one of those classics that I want to go back to time and time again. And I love the film versions that I've seen of Alice in Wonderland anyway. And while I have it out, do a little plug for my favorite version. And yes, this is a VHS tape. If you don't know what this is, I feel bad for you. But this is my favorite version. Of course, I love the classic Disney version from, I believe it was 1940s or 1950s, but production-wise, this is my favorite. I think this was from 1999, live action, but it has a star-studded cast. It has Robbie Coltrane as one of the Tweedles. It has Christopher Lloyd. It has Whoopi Goldberg as the Cheshire Cat. Miranda Richardson, aka Rita Skeeter, as the Queen of Hearts. And it has the late great Gene Wilder as the Mock Turtle, which is not portrayed in the other two versions that I've seen. Not portrayed in the classic Disney version, and he's not in the Tim Burton version, which is a real shame because that's my favorite part of the book and my favorite part of this movie. And it has my favorite Mad Hatter, Martin Short. So again, I love Alice in Wonderland. So I was very, very drawn to this dyer. And I got this at this year's Yarn Crawl, the San Diego Yarn Crawl. I'll get into that in the blog for this episode. And this is her Curiouser and Curiouser line. And unfortunately, I don't know the name of this colorway, but it's very similar to the 2015 San Diego Yarn Crawl colorway. And that was purchased at South Park Dry Goods Company. And it's south of Balboa Park. Yeah, there's nothing to do with the South Park of TV fame. I really don't like that show. But it's definitely a lot of fun. I'll have to try, see if I can find a little bit more of a bold lace pattern. Even if it doesn't show up on the sock itself, it's more for my enjoyment as I'm knitting it. Usually my socks are, all of my socks are toe up. Lately my favorite way to knit socks has been either a short row toe or a variation on the Turkish cast on. And again, I don't really have anything to show yet. I had a fairly decent start on the toe, and then I noticed I had a yarn over that was just too far down to repair in any other way than by frogging it back. So kind of starting from scratch, but at least this time I know my gauge, and yeah, they'll be good. So I can't wait to report back. That's all that I'm working on now, but we'll start on some future knitting projects that I have planned. For now, I think my next one is going to be a blanket for my grandmother. Again, spoiling her rotten, because she's 93 years old, and she's still sharp as a tack. She'll still be able to enjoy the things that I make for her. But I figured that she could use a blanket to snuggle up in. It'll be like a hug without having to drive up every day. I try to visit her every week, but she's an hour away, and it's just a lot of driving. And and because I work full time, it's just not always feasible. So I'm going to make her a blanket. I've got 3 balls of the Karen Big Cakes. This is the afternoon tea colorway. And again, so gorgeous. With the blues and the greens, it'll kind of go with the socks. But I think I'm planning on crocheting this one. And let me look up the pattern. I know it's going to be knit from the center out. And will I find it? Getting closer. But yeah, I figured this would be the closest thing to getting a hug from me every day, and it's something that she'll be able to enjoy a little bit more often. While she wears the socks every time I go to visit, she doesn't wear them, and she told me this, and I totally understand. She doesn't wear them that often because she doesn't want to wear them out, get them ruined, or anything like that, which I don't really see how she could ruin them. But I figure a blanket will be something that she'll use on a more regular basis. And getting closer to finding the pattern. And here it is. This will be the Atlanticus pattern, and it was a crochet along, and the pattern is by Hooked on Sunshine. See if it'll show up on without all that glare. That's kind of the gist of it. I'll post a better picture of it, or I'll post a link to the pattern page on the blog. But this will be my first crochet pattern in a long time. I do know how to crochet. I do like to crochet, but just happenstance, most of my patterns, most of my projects have been knitting only. But I love the way this one looks. It's knit from the center out, starts as a circle, but develops corners and becomes a square. And I think the colors will be perfect for that. So that's one thing that I have in mind for future knitting. A couple of other things I'll show. I have them housed in another project bag. This one is by Stitching Plaza, by Georgianne of Stitching Plaza. There we go. I was trying to think of how to best phrase that, but she's awesome, and she's. I had heard of her Etsy page and all of her designs through Jessica, or Jessie, and I saw this one on her Instagram, and I fell head over heels. I'm like, I am buying that right now, because first off, look at that color. I love that sea green. That's one of my favorite shades of green. Second, it's a coffee theme. The Coffee Divas. Thirdly, the Retro Ladies. And now to kind of go back to the coffee theme, I absolutely love coffee. I'm not like a total coffee fiend, but I used to work at Starbucks. I worked there for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. I left on good terms. There was an opportunity elsewhere that I just needed to jump on. But the only way to do that was to quit Starbucks. But I still have all my friends there, love them to pieces, and I go back and visit whenever I can. But anyway, I absolutely love coffee. I love tasting coffee. I love experimenting with brewing methods. I'm all about coffee and tea. And tea was actually the one that started it. But it's got the coffee theme. And as I mentioned before, the Retro Ladies, particularly this one, she kind of reminds me of Audrey Hepburn. I'm a big Audrey Hepburn fan. So there you go. So I ordered it, and when it arrived, I found the icing on the cake. The lining. Today's Good Mood is sponsored by coffee. That is so true for me. Granted, I usually just stick with my 8-ounce cup in the morning, and I usually drain that thing. But again, just an 8-ounce cup of black coffee in the morning, and that gets me through the day. But to be perfectly honest, I can't start my day without it. And if I try to, I can be a little cranky or a little foggy. I'm just not myself without it. So there we go. But in here I've got three sets of yarn, not 3 skeins. There's way more than 3 skeins. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it could probably fit 2 more. It's nice and roomy. Anyway, I've got 3 future projects. First one I'll show you is another skein of yarn that I got at the San Diego Yarn Crawl. This was purchased at the yarn shop that's closest to me, Yarning for You in San Marcos. This is by Oink Pigments. This is their Disco Base, which is a soft yarn with the stellina. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is a colorway called Hufflepuff. And of course, I'm a Harry Potter fan, and I did the Pottermore House quiz, and I'm a Hufflepuff, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a Hufflepuff, especially considering that they used to be kind of the uncool kids, but with the rise of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, with Newt Scamander was a Hufflepuff, and that'll be a tangent for another time. I could go all day long about how perfect that movie, how much I love the idea for the movie. I haven't seen it yet, at least not all the way through, but I love the concept of the magical creatures and the conservation. That's a huge passion for me, and I love animals anyway, so a film about a magical zoologist who happens to be a Hufflepuff alumnus. How perfect is that? And oops. So anyway, I got this for myself. I'm intending to make a pair of socks out of this. Here we go. And it's kind of faded, but you can make out her logo. So cute. Get it? Oink. Pigments. Again, I love the puns. What can I say? But I am intending to make a pair of socks from this yarn. Particularly one with different lacy, kind of floral laces. I've seen stitches that look like bees. So I'm really excited. I've got a lot of ideas and a lot of creative material to choose from. But again, this is the Hufflepuff colorway. And I'm just going to unwind this so you can see. But again, I am a proud Hufflepuff. And again, we used to be the uncool kids. Now we're kind of making a rise with Fantastic Beasts. But here are the reasons why I love being a Hufflepuff. One, we are loyal to our friends. We will defend you tooth and nail. You really can't have a better friend than a Hufflepuff. And, we may not be the brainiacs, but second, we're hard workers. We will bust our buns to get a job done. And lastly, at least for now, there are plenty of other reasons, but this one I had a little bit of trouble trying to puzzle out what the heck it means, but we are good finders, which I interpret as we are observant. We will look for things where, if you lose something, we'll kind of try and solve, where it could be. But that sounded way too rambly, but good finders I interpret to mean observant, which I think kind of fits the bill with me. And then also in here I have some yarn that I'm planning on making a cardigan with. I have 2 skeins of candy skein, and this is the Yummy base, and the colorway is Lavender Latte, which again, the coffee theme, and it's named after probably my very favorite coffee treat. I think tied for first with the rose vanilla latte, and you can find that at the Press Espresso in Old Town Temecula and Old Town Murrieta. They're the only place that I know that makes the rose vanilla, but lavender latte you could probably find at other coffee shops. I know one other place that sells it, Esco Gelato in Escondido. But how perfect is this? Not only is it a beautiful shade of purple with the flecks of brown, and the way she dyed it, kind of hard to see on screen, but it has a beautiful speckle effect as well. It's named after my favorite treat, and it was a limited edition colorway for my birth month, April 2018. And best of all, the limited edition colorways will often come with a progress keeper. It's showing up a little bit blurry right now, but it's a little coffee mug. There we go. How cute. And then to kind of go along with it, I bought a coordinating contrasting skein. This is by Elevate Yarns. This is their Radiant Sock Base, so it has the stellina. Ooh, it's showing up really nicely on the screen. But this is the colorway Hydrangea, and it has those browns and purples, but it also has a little bit of blue and green. Absolutely gorgeous. So again, I've probably got about, 463 times 2, so a little over 900 yards on that one, plus another 435, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12, a little over 1,300 yards. That's quite a bit of yarn. So I'm likely going to make a little cardigan or a vest. We'll see where it takes me. Then, I know I'm already biting off quite a lot. I'm going to have a lot to make down the road. And then, again, I don't have a specific pattern for that one. I don't have a specific pattern for the next one. And kind of the final thing for future knitting. Then we move on to music. Then I have this beautiful skein, or 3 beautiful skeins of Araucanina yarns. And this is their Kanya Ruka line. And it's viscose made from sugarcane. The colorway is called Orangeville. And oh my word, it's, again, the lighting's kind of going off and on. I apologize. Right now, it's looking fairly true to color. If you take a look kind of in the crease down here or up here, I think that's a bit closer to what it looks like in real life. But oh my gosh, I love that color. I don't have anything like that in my wardrobe currently, but also I love the fact that it is a plant-based fiber. Because as much as I love wool and alpaca and cashmere, all those soft, fuzzy, warm, squishy yarns, I don't really get a lot of opportunity to wear them. So where I live, it just doesn't get that cold. It gets chilly, but not cold. So as far as an actual top in my wardrobe, this is going to be perfect. And I'll be able to enjoy it year round. But anyway, that's all I've got for now as far as the crafty goodness. There will be a lot more. And again, definitely check out my blog. I don't have that much on right now, but I am working on a post for kind of introducing those new to the fiber community to different lingo, and I'm going to kind of go into a little prompt. So for this first episode, I would like you guys to, first off, share what you would like to see on this blog and this podcast. And second, as I'm composing my next blog post, I would like you guys to share what your favorite knitting slang or crochet slang or fiber slang is. I do have a few. Some of them are abbreviations. I know I have frogging on the list. For the unfamiliar, frogging is ripping back your knitting, whether it's to a certain point or just completely ripping it back and starting from scratch. And the joke is, in the knitting world, frogs don't go ribbit, they go rip it, rip it, rip it, rip it. Again, those puns. But yeah, if you have any favorite knitting lingo or abbreviations that you would like to share, I do have quite a few already, but post those on the comments below, whether it's here on YouTube or on my blog, and can't wait to hear from you guys. So with that, let's switch to the musical side of things.
Alright, I'm back, and we've got the Hound of Houndstrings right behind me. This is nice. And oh, good boy. Can you sit? Oh, he's so nice. Say hi. Oh, what? Something got him riled up. I don't know what. But, prepare for barking a little bit. Hopefully it won't happen. But anyway, that's Linus. We've had him since he was a 3-month-old pup. 10 years later, he still acts like a pup sometimes, so he can be a total dork or a complete sweetie. Sometimes a little bit of both. Huh. Alright, so let's jump into some music. Again, I'm learning 3 different instruments: the harp, the guitar, the ukulele, almost entirely from scratch. I know I said from scratch before. I say almost entirely because I do have some music background. I took piano lessons from about the 3rd grade to 7th grade, and I've still retained some of my musical abilities. Unfortunately, you won't see me play the piano on this podcast, at least not for a good long while, because my family piano is so terribly out of tune, shamefully out of tune. But you will, however, see these 3 for sure. I'm going to start with the guitar, since that was the second instrument that I learned after the piano. I've got what used to be my mom's acoustic guitar. It was a birthday gift for her a long time ago. She never even touched it. So she was considering giving it to Goodwill or selling it, and I was like, no you don't, I'll play it. And I kind of played it off and on since I was 16, but this is really the first time I've been serious about it. The things that I've learned just from experience, and also just my general resources. The only resources that I have for any of these are books and internet. So we'll see how this goes. But generally, when you're starting out on the guitar, you want to have very short nails because it makes pressing down on those strings a lot easier. And as far as tunes, I do have a couple that I've gotten along well with so far. The first one is, let me adjust the camera. You guys can see a little bit better. And hopefully you see it without knocking everything flat down. Here we go. So the first song that I really picked up again, just kind of by happenstance, is a song that I learned from church called Pescador de Hombres, or Lord, You Have Come to the Seashore. And first off, I love the melody, but also the chords are very simple too. So it starts with the D chord, and then A7, back to D, to G, back to A7, back to D, A7, D, D7, G, and so on and so forth. And when it's all put together, granted I'm still working on the rhythm, it sounds a little like this. Also known as Fishers of Men. And it's a beautiful song. I love the waltz rhythm, and the chords are very easy to play. Again, D, A7, G, and D7. So that's one of them. I'm also trying to work on one of my favorite Beatles tunes. Absolutely love the Beatles. I'm looking through the chords for that one are G again, C, A minor, E minor, and D. And there are a few other chords. I don't remember which ones they are or how to play them, but you can kind of get a gist of the song with those, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 chords, so there's a little bit more. My main thing for this one that I really need to work on I'm struggling with right now is just transitions. I know a lot of it is, a lot of getting past that is just going to be muscle memory and just practice and going back and forth. It's usually going to and from C. So I'll show you what I've done. Okay. Oh, by the way, this is normally supposed to have the capo, which is someplace, but I'm not finding it. It'll turn up later. And normally, again, for this song, the capo is supposed to be on the first fret. So I apologize, it'll sound a little off, but the chords are still the same, it's just going to be moved down a fret. See what I've got? Transitions and working on, shaping my fingers to help not only transition smoothly, but help those chords ring out a little bit more clearly. So again, I'm a beginner. What can I say? It'll come to me eventually. I also have, so kind of going along with the guitar, I do have my electric guitar in the background. I got that for Christmas when I was 16. I thought I was going to be a total rock star. Didn't happen. But I did find out that, even if, you're still learning, investing in an electric guitar and having both an electric and an acoustic can help you experiment with different styles. And my favorite thing about the electric guitar is it still sounds halfway decent, even if it's not plugged into an amp. That way I can squeeze in just a little bit more practice time without bugging anybody. So that's the guitar, not the uke. Next is the harp. I love this thing. Got it for my 17th birthday. Hi. He's right below the computer. Just need to give him a little scratch. A little pet in the neck. There we go. Turn this way. Again, I got this for my 17th birthday. It's a lever harp. Has 22 strings, stands about 3 feet tall, goes from C, I think that's C, I don't remember, but it goes from the C below middle to high C. And for me, the harp is possibly my favorite instrument. I've been just so enamored with it since about the 7th grade. Even more enamored with it since the 7th grade. But my first exposure and my first time really seriously falling in love with it was the 5th grade in Mr. Burns' class. Now, he was a fantastic teacher. Absolutely loved him. And he was one of those that incorporated something artsy-fartsy into every subject, whether it was science, literature. So there was always some form of the arts included in every lesson. And there was one day where think it was coming close to winter break or Christmas break, and he brought his and his wife's Celtic harp for all the kids to tinker around with. And let's just say it's a very forgiving instrument. Even someone who's not had musical background, can kind of fiddle with the strings and find something pretty to play, even if they don't know what they're playing. Again, very forgiving instrument. This one is one, just with my practice, I would get a lot of headway, but then if I don't, it's a lot harder to retain if you don't keep up with it. That was my first time falling in love with the harp. The second time, or the second influence, I should say, in wanting to learn the harp and actually purchase one of my own was a performer by the name of Lorena McKennitt, and she's mostly known for the harp. That seems to be her signature instrument, although she is talented in a variety of different instruments. And I think also part of the inspiration with her was the fact that she was self-taught in the harp. She was classically trained in music, but she was self-taught at the harp, which I kind of like, because it gives a little bit of a ray of hope. Lastly, the inspiration for continuing my journey and helping me to not give up was Harpo Marx of the Marx Brothers. And if you don't know who that is, look them up. Seriously. I know it's old school. You'll find a lot about me is old school, but the Marx Brothers were great. They had their comedy routines. But Harpo is named because of the way he plays the harp, and he not only does he play classic pieces beautifully, he took contemporary pieces, contemporary to that time, and made them beautiful. In fact, if you look up in I Love Lucy episode, he plays Take Me Out to the Ball Game. He makes a cameo appearance and plays Take Me Out to the Ball Game on the harp. Well, I haven't gotten to that level yet. Here's one of the pieces that, with a little practice, seems to come back to me every time. But this is, kind of a fluke in my skill level, so to speak. The rest of my playing isn't that great, but this is from the New World Suite by Borjak, and this was actually one of the lessons in a book called Teach Yourself to Play the Folk Harp by Sylvia Woltz. And my harp was, again, a birthday gift from when I was 17, and my parents gave me that book to go along with it. So, just need to warm up a little bit. I think I've got it. good start anyway. But again, that's really the only two hands piece that I know. Again, every time I make some headway, I lapse for some reason. Usually it's just due to happens. But for some reason that one just sticks with me and I love it. But at least for now I'm starting back at lesson 1. But we'll see how that goes. But that's all. I almost signed off without introducing the last instrument, and it's the one that I've had the most progress with and honestly the most fun, the ukulele. And I think since it's such a beautiful day, I'm going to take this outside. Be right back.
Here we go. I'm back. I'm on my phone now. My computer battery died, so we'll deal. And honestly, this is a lot easier to take outside. So I've got my ukulele. This is the most recent of my additions to my musical instrument collection. I got it when I was in Hawaii last year. I'm just going to set the phone down real quick. There we go. And I had done some research before I left for my trip on, kind of what to expect in a ukulele, what to look for, and how much to expect to pay. And I acquired this beauty. Got it at Bob's Ukulele in Waikiki. And this is a Kumu ukulele. And I absolutely love it. It's koa with laminate, and generally laminate is going to make the trip to and from Hawaii to Hawaii from Hawaii to the mainland. There we go. It's going to make that trip a lot better than, a solid wood, uke wood, unless you have like special handling and all of that, because the change in humidity can sometimes warp the wood, which we don't want. You're paying good money for a uke. You want it to last. But I had a lot of fun with this one. And the intro that you heard at the beginning is actually me playing. It's just a simple chord progression that I learned. So it started with C, A minor, F, G7, and then back to C. So altogether it looks like... Granted, it sounds a lot better when I'm not squatting. Here we go. I'll take a kneeling position a little bit better. So again, this is an instrument that I'm still learning, but for the time, I think I've made the most progress on it. I do have a couple of songs that I've almost mastered. Got Lava from that cute little Pixar short. Have a few mistakes, got a little distracted, but that's okay. That one consists of C major, G7, F, and that's it. Not the most complicated piece to learn. And what I love about the ukulele is most of the ones that you see on the market have nylon strings, so you still develop those calluses, but not in, how do I put this politely? They don't make you suffer as a beginner, unlike steel strings, which are not fun. And I've been able to earn my calluses, but it definitely takes practice to be able to maintain them. Oh, hi lizard. There was a lizard just running across the bottom of the screen. Didn't even look. But yeah, this one's been a lot of fun, and again, because there are only 4 strings, it makes it easier to learn songs, learn chord progressions. And one of the things that I want to work on the ukulele and then try and transfer to the guitar is learning the scales and learning finger picking. That's something that I've always dreamed of doing, but lately I've just been kind of stuck on chords. But I've also got the chords down for Can't Help Falling in Love. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will give you the chords. So it's, oh hi! Mwah. Love that guy. And it would actually help to see the ukulele. So let's try that again. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't tell, falling in love with you. So that's one of my favorites. And and that was the song that when I went to Bob's Ukulele, he did the demo. He demoed this instrument with that song. Oh my god! I ended up getting the songbook, which is all the classic Elvis songs. You know, has this one. It has Hound Dog, Blue Hawaii, you know, all the great Elvis songs, honestly. But that's where I am with the ukulele for now. Again, I can't wait to share my progress with that one and all the other instruments. Before I go, I'll kind of ask you guys, you know, what kind of music you like, how, you know, if there are any particular artists you enjoy, how did you discover them? And I'll go into a few of my favorites and why on the blog, and then for future episodes I'll kind of go into what I'm listening to. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this very first episode. And before I go, I'd like to share with you one of my philosophies in life, and that's to find what you enjoy and do it with someone you love. And with that, thank you so much again for joining me, and I'll see you next time on Houndstrings.